God bless you, everybody. Today I'll be explaining another verse. So for the past month, I have been grabbing a verse from the Bible, getting a verse from the Bible, and I explain it in what I think and what I believe and what God has talked to me about. So today's verse is in Galatians 4:7, and it says, "So you are no longer a slave anymore, but a child. And since you are a child, God will give you all that He has for His children." So, what this means to me, or what I got from it, or what I learned from it, was if you read it again, it says, "Therefore you are no longer a slave, but you are a child." So, what it means is that a slave, it doesn't really mean you are a slave of a man. Like you do everything for him, like everything. If you didn't know, back then, even in like times where Martin Luther King, I forgot his name, sorry, and Abraham Lincoln, they had slaves. And so in the Bible, if Pharaoh had slaves, all the kings had slaves. And that's not what this part is referring to. It's not referring to a slave where you work. It's referring to a slave from the devil. So a slave from the devil is that you don't have freedom. You don't have any of that like passion or anything that God has given you, because you're a slave. You're captured by the devil, and the devil uses you to do his will, or what he wants the world to, what he wants you to do to the world. And that's not what children of God do. So it's referring to a slave. It's referring to you're a slave of the devil. You, again, if you think about it, a slave is somebody who works for somebody, or works for a higher person, or who does anything, or has to do anything. It's not because they want to, it's because they have to. So that's how it is with the devil. He uses you. He makes you do things that you sometimes don't want to do, but because you're a slave, you do it. And again, it says, "Therefore you are no longer a slave, but a child." So it says here, with God, when you cry out to God, when you are a child of God, you're not a slave anymore. You have freedom. You have anything through Him. And that's what a child of God is. They're not a slave to the devil. They don't have chains. They don't have to do anything anymore, because they're free to live with God. With God, you're free. You can do anything. And I'm not saying like you can go sin. You can go do that. And we all sin. It's something that if we try as hard as we can not to, sometimes you can do it, but at the end of the day, we all sin. And then it says, it said that, okay, now that you are a son of God, or a child of God, He will give anything for you. He will give anything to have His child. And to me, when I think of that, I think of, okay, He will do anything for His children. He will give you anything. But obviously, we can't just have everything like that. There's always has to be a process, or there always has to be something you have to go through for at the end you get your reward, which is that. But what this, to me, is referring to is where it says that He will give anything for you, is when, if you haven't heard of the story of the 100 sheep, where there's a shepherd and 100 sheep. One of the sheep is rebellious and leaves. And the shepherd leaves his 99 sheep and goes to get that one sheep. If that shepherd could have, or if he wanted to, he could have just left the sheep to go die. No, he went to go get the sheep. And that's how God is with us. If we go off and start drifting off to the world, God will go and pull us back. And He will risk anything for His children. He will risk anything that He has to get us back, to get us like that one sheep. He got it back, and He brought it back with the rest of sheep. That's what he will do with you. He will go get you. And obviously, he will go get you, but if you just ignore it, then it's your fault as well. But this is what this verse to me means, is that because you are a child, God will risk anything. And if you are a child, you're free. And if you're a slave, you can come to God. If you feel like you're a slave, or you are a slave of the enemy, you can rush to God, and then you can become a child. Freedom. You can have freedom to do anything in him. And this is what this verse meant to me, that we can God will risk anything for us because he loves us. That's why he went on the cross and died, because he loved us. He risked himself. And that's what I understood from this verse, and I hope you guys learned something from it as well.